Good evening all. Today is the tomorrow we worried about yesterday and all is well. We are here to celebrate a momentous occasion. However, everything we think, say and do is inspired by the Supreme Creator. So at this time, we wish to invite Miss Rosalind Sidhill to invoke the Supreme Creator's blessings on this evening's proceedings.
All bow our heads. Father in God, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your blessings upon us. Thank you for bringing us here safely. And Lord, I want to thank you that we can be in an occasion like this. Father, Lord, I want to thank you for Janeil. She is your handiwork, so beautiful and so wonderfully made. I pray, God, as we sit and listen to her tonight, I pray, Father in God, that we will not only listen with our ears, but we will listen with our hearts to the extent, Lord God, that we will use and continue to use all the talents and all the gifts and all, oh God, the skills that you have given to us, that we use all of our abilities to bring honor and glory to your name. So, Father, tonight, bless these proceedings. I pray, God, that you will continue to bless us. And Lord, last but not least, I also want to thank you, Lord, for what you've provided for us tonight. Thank you for providing these refreshments, Lord. I pray that your blessings will be upon them and that they will do our bodies good. Again, Lord, thank you. In Jesus' name I pray, and we all say amen.
At this time, I wish to invite the Director of the National Disabilities Unit, Mr. John Hollingsworth, to officially welcome you to this evening's proceeding.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Honorable Kirk Humphrey, Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs. The Honorable Corey Lane, Minister of State. Mr. Edmund Hinkson, MP. Ms. Cynthia Ford, MP. Mr. Jehu Wiltshire, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs. Staff of the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs. Ms. Janeil Odle, our featured speaker. Ms. Carrie-Ann Eiffel, President of the Barbados Council for the Disabled. Ms. Rosalind Hurley, Special Envoy for Persons with Disabilities. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. It is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's function, which basically is the final event being staged by the National Disabilities Unit in commemoration of the Month of the Disabled. It is my extreme pleasure to see so many of you turning out to this momentous occasion. I say it's a momentous occasion because it's the inaugural of a series of public lectures that we intend to host for the Month of the Disabled starting tonight. I do hope we get as much support or even more support as time goes by, and therefore we will feel enthused and encouraged to not only expand the seating and the venue, but to make you feel as comfortable as possible. My task is very simple, and I think I have done most of it already. We want to thank you for being here, and although it's not my principal role in terms of thanking persons, I want to, at least from my side, say a very special thank you to the staff of the National Disabilities Unit who worked arduously throughout the whole month to put on the series of events that we would have had for this Month of the Disabled. I know that after tonight they'll be completely relieved. I myself am on vacation. I have not abandoned you, but still, as you can see, I am here. Nevertheless, we hope that you do enjoy the presentation tonight and that you find it inspiring, not only for yourself, but for any other person who may have a disability, and for those able-bodied persons who could find some fruit from what Janeil has to offer us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Hollingsworth. At this time, we wish to invite the lady in whose honor or whose patronage this activity this evening is being held. That is our special envoy for persons with disabilities, Miss Rosalind Hurley.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This evening is an honor, a real honor. This evening will go down in history. I'd like to say thanks to Mr. Bourne. When we discussed it, he said yes, that it shall be in my name. So I give a second thanks to him. I give a thanks to the minister, the TS. Thank you all for supporting. Inaugural Lecture Unit with the director, Mr. Janeil Odle. Thanks to all. Thanks to all the ministers, all the persons that I see sitting here today, friends, family, disabled sisters and others. I'd like to say thanks because I see Janeil Odle. I am so proud of you. I know you from time you were 7 or 8. I know that you was a very, very good. And against every odds, you fight and you win. That is what I call a strong disabled woman. And reading about this on Friday, I hear justice, I can't remember that the justice speak out on the young lawyers. And he said to the young lawyers, this is time that you settle on your own. You don't need a locking. I will help you. And I can tell you, you need order today. Any day, she is willing to settle on her own and not behind anybody. I know that we, the disabled, we can support you. We can support you. And when I read that, I think of you, because I know that you can do it. And thanks to your mom and your dad to stick in and to reserve someone behind you and give you all the support that you need. Thanks to everybody. And I know that you all enjoy what she had to say, and you will learn a lot. Thank you all for listening to me.
Thank you, Madam Special Envoy. Moving on, at this time, we wish to invite another sister, the President of the Barbados Council for the Disabled, Miss Carrie-Ann Eiffel.
Minister Kirk Humphrey, Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, other members of Parliament, Special Envoy for Persons with Disabilities, my dear friend Rosalind Hurley. Janeil Odle, I'll come back to you in a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I am honored. I am privileged. I am excited and celebrating. I am happy. Why? Because I get to celebrate with two women tonight for whom I have the utmost respect, and I actually love both of them too. So it kind of helps. This month, the month of the disabled, we celebrate under the theme Transformative Solutions for Inclusive Development. And as I reflected when I was asked to give the remarks this evening, I also remembered in the United States of America, they don't do everything right, but one thing they did do is recognize this month as Women's History Month. I thought, how fitting that this evening we come here to honor two such talented, wonderful women. And then, of course, there was the International Women's Day. And I thought, you know what? That theme might lend itself. Tell me if you don't think that that theme lent itself to both of our special women this evening. Accelerating equality and empowerment, how women's leadership and collective action can make a difference. Reflect. Pause. In 1999, the now Senator Dr., all the other titles, Floyd Morris, made a visit to Barbados. And he delivered a lecture in this same room, possibly at this same podium. And there was one child in the audience, a little girl. A little girl whose life had recently been completely altered. A little girl whose parents were ensuring that she would be a part of society. A little girl who I thought, interesting. Over the years, I've heard this poor child be told, oh, you're a young Carrie Ann. I told her, you're not, you're better. And she is. She is an exceptionally bright, talented, gifted, humble person. A young woman who, I don't like the term in spite of, but because of who she was designed and purposed to be, is destined to transform our country, to make it bigger and better and more empowered for persons just like her, just like me. I have no children of my own. I tell people of all the titles in the world that I've had, the one I love most is Auntie Carrie. When I'm called Auntie Carrie, it means that there's somebody out there looking up to me. Don't think she ever called me Auntie Carrie, though. So we got to talk about that one later. But at every stage and phase of Janeil's life, I have been honored and privileged to be the voice in the background, the person that she comes to sometimes and asks, can I do this? Should I do that? How can I handle this thing? I have no children, but I have persons like her around me that helps me to know my life here has not been wasted. Let us put this in a national context. Barbados is working hard towards changing. In my short time on this earth, I've seen changes for persons with disabilities. Perhaps not at the speed that we would all want it to see, but look around you. 20 years ago, do you think a lecture delivered about and for persons with disabilities would garner attention like this? No, it would not. 20 years from now, this lecture will be delivered in the gymnasium, perhaps. At the very least, right next door in the Frank Cullimer Hall. You know, where the big lectures get delivered. And why is that? It is because of the other special woman in here tonight. Rosalind Hurley has, I tell her all the time, she is too small to take a lash. Look at her good. But that body, slim as it is, contains the hugest heart of anyone I have ever met. Rosalind is always, always available. Never steps away from a task. If she hears that a person with a disability was bitten by a mosquito, it grieves her. If she hears a person with a disability win a marble match, she is ready to celebrate. Why is that? Because Rosalind cares beyond all measure for all persons, not just persons with disabilities. Though we are her special project, no. This is not who she has always been. She's always been a supporter of people. Rosalind has committed her life to doing just what this Month of the Disabled is doing, transforming, creating solutions, and making Barbados more inclusive. So ladies and gentlemen, join me tonight as I celebrate these two women, these two transformative women, these two women who through their leadership and their collective action continue to make a difference as they build a society that is going to be transformative in its solutions as we move towards an inclusive development. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eiffel. At this time, I wish to invite our Honorable Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, Mr. Kurt Humphrey, to address you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. I will be very brief. A very special good night to Minister Lane. Good to see you. Member of Parliament for St. Thomas, Ms. Cynthia Ford, and the advisor to the Ministry on things pertaining to the elderly. My good friend, I should say, I almost call him Honorable, Mr. Edmund Hinkson, and there's a story to be told of Eddie and my standing here, but I won't tell it tonight. But Mr. Hinkson, who is also the chair of our committee that is advising me and the ministry in relation to establishing a commission for improving the lives of persons with disabilities. I want to thank my colleagues, of course, first and foremost. I want to thank you, Ms. Carrie-Ann Eiffel, for being here as President of the Council for the Disabled, but also for serving on that committee that Mr. Hinkson chairs. My PS and all the heads of departments who are here, I see you, and I'm very happy that you came. That's an inside joke, but I'm very happy that you came. To all the members of the disabled community, thank you so much, because there's no greater honor being bestowed tonight on Janeil than the support of her colleagues and her friends, and I'm sure she's very happy to hear it. I said to her just now, you have a very good crowd. And then she was like, oh, Lord. So I don't know if I made it good or bad. I then said maybe I should have told you that the crowd is very small, because being here can be nerve-wracking, I guess. I want to thank all of you, really. And, I want to thank you too, Bonnie, because you do this to give her a round of applause, really, because you do this all the time. You never complain, and you show up like a real, true soldier in the name of the persons with disabilities. So, as I was driving here, they gave me notes, which I'm sure they know by now that I probably won't use, sorry. But as I move as the Spirit moves me. And as I was driving here, I was reminded of a very old and dear person when I was young who told me that change doesn't come easy, but that change comes. And I carried that for a long time, meaning that, things that are difficult to change will change eventually if you keep working on them, keep pressing on it, keep pushing. But as I grew older, I also came to appreciate that also means that in the process of trying to bring change, if you're fighting for something, it changes you too. So that you don't get to be in this fight and don't change. Some of us become hardened by it, and some of us become saddened by it, some people depressed by it. Changing, fighting for a cause is hard work. And that many persons in the community of persons with disabilities who still have love and compassion and tenderness after what this society has put them through, they deserve a round of applause, because that is superhuman. And I also cast it in my mind as I was driving here, I thought of Craig. I talk of him a lot, Craig Nurse. Many of you would know Craig. Craig was at university with me and was actually one of my domino partners. And there was an afternoon in the guild. We spent a lot of time in the guild. There was an afternoon we were about to go by the guild, and when I got there, Craig was waiting at the bottom of the stairs at the university. He couldn't get up, and Craig was confined to a wheelchair. And when I was walking in, he saw me and his face lit up and he said, "Hey, could you lift me up the stairs?" Which I did, and my friend took his chair and we took Craig upstairs. But then it occurred to me too that Craig shouldn't have to fight that challenge, you know? And that to stand at the bottom of the stairs and he hoped that he could get up the stairs, you know, he shouldn't have to do that. But that was, I don't want to date myself, but that was like 25 years ago. Many people still have the same challenge. And I saw it as we did the walk on Saturday, as we pushed people along the road. The road was too rough, but the sidewalk was worse. Our society has a long, long, long way to go. But the bigger challenge, as I thought about it, was that Craig was sitting there waiting for a friend. Because if you're a person with disability, you're vulnerable, and your community of trust is small. And to be part of that community of trust is also an honor. And in a way, Craig bestowed an honor upon me. And in that similar vein, Janeil bestows an honor tonight on all of us by bringing us into her circle of trust and sharing with us what I think is a very personal story. The little of it that I know has already touched me. And I think that we have to do a lot of work to make sure that we bring that circle of trust and make it bigger. That is why I want to thank the National Disabilities Unit, Mr. Hollingsworth. I want to thank you. You've been excellent. You have been excellent. I want to thank you too, Mr. Stevenson, Evelyn, the entire staff. You've just been, honestly, I think the Disabilities Unit has been excellent. I really think the ministry has been excellent. And of course, a lot of this is due to Cynthia Ford, who worked before me. I really want to thank the ministry. And this year we've done a lot of work. On Sunday, was it Sunday? We did the walk. Saturday, there was a walk, an entrepreneurial market, and a movie night all in one day. And just as part of the nature of trying to make people understand, I want to thank the Disabilities Unit. I want to thank the Barbados Council for the Disabled. I want to thank you, Carrie Ann. I mean, you know how I feel about you and already, so I won't say it here. Rosalind knows how I feel about her. I've been doing this for a long time, long before I was minister, you know. Rosalind knows how I feel about her too. But I want to thank you. And I feel, I keep saying to my PS, Mr. Wiltshire, that the only way we can do this is if, I mentioned when I was doing the salutations, I said PS. Right? I'm getting old. But I keep saying to PS, the only way we can do this work is if we do it through our partners, you know, deepen the relationship, strengthen them financially, make the relationship work. And therefore, I'm very happy to be able to say that we're doing that. And the commission that Mr. Hinkson chairs, the work that you've done this year, Eddie has held, and his team, meetings now with nearly 60 different people. 60 set of meetings to be able to influence the legislation that will improve the lives of persons with disabilities. I have the draft. It goes to Cabinet next month. And hopefully very, very soon we will have legislation that legitimizes people with disabilities in this country so that y'all don't have to feel as if you're a third cousin or distant cousin in your own land. And I want to thank you for being able to put us in that position, Mr. Hinkson. But I feel, of course, I want to thank you, Janeil, because the truth is that change does not come easy. And to be able to do this work, in many ways you had your stirs too, like Craig. In many ways you had challenges, I mean, in various ways, and you still do. And many of us who do not have the challenges of a person with disabilities, everybody is walking wounded. That is what I know. That everybody is carrying something, every man a burden. But many of our burdens don't begin to add up to the persons who have disabilities. And not because it is a flaw on their part, just because the system doesn't allow them to do what they're supposed to do. So I know that you've had your stirs too, and change doesn't come easy. And so I want to commend you because with your challenges, you've still gone on to do, I understand, 2 first-class honors degrees. That's outstanding. And still be able to be a lawyer. I mean, my daughter just started doing law, and then she checked out. She was like, it's too much for me. So I need you to speak to her. And I also want to endorse Rosalind to say, of course, that if anybody has a case, it doesn't only have to be a person with a disability. Anybody, I know you can't advertise Janeil, but advertising for you. She's open for business. Feel free to give her some work, please. But I want to close really by thanking you for bestowing the gift of your words. And I hope you give your words to us tonight. And I do hope, honestly, that we receive those words and that we treat it really as what it is. It is a gift. It is a gift given to the few of us who are gathered here, hopefully shared by many eventually, but it is really a gift. Many of us don't deserve gifts because of the way that we've lived our lives. Many of us, I've spoken to some of my constituents, some of the young people. We had a thing for the back-to-school children. They were 11. And I asked them, you know, how many of y'all have relationships with the old people? They're like, old people? Like elderly people, seniors? No. What about persons with disabilities? No. And it occurred to me the challenge we're having is that many of us, we're giving these things to our children, you know, so that we're passing on our biases and passing on this disadvantage. So that when we take these words, this is a gift. And I hope we can give these words to our children. And we can give these words to the people who are not here. And that we can make a really big difference in the lives of persons with disabilities. We can change the legislation. We can change the infrastructure. We can change our mindset. And the best way, I think, to do that is by people telling their story. Janeil, we want to thank you tonight. This is your story. And I am honored that you have, like Craig did, bestowed this gift on me and all the people who are gathered in this room. Good night. God bless.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The distinct pleasure and honor is also mine to introduce a sister, Our Lady of the Evening, Janeil Sharice Akeelia Odle. She's a motivational speaker who happens to be blind. She's an advocate for persons with disabilities and has the distinction of being the first attorney at law in Barbados who is blind. She would have lost her sight at age 6 as a result of an accident, but in spite of this, she has reportedly overcome all obstacles in her way to success. She was the first person in Barbados to sit the Common Entrance examination in Braille in 2007. She later moved on to the institution at Waterford. Thereafter, the Barbados Community College, where she subsequently became the 2014 valedictorian and earned a Barbados exhibition in that same year. She was also chosen in 2015 to do the welcome speech on behalf of the youth of the region at the Youth Symposium, which was attended by His Excellency, Mr. Ban Ki-moon, Secretary General of the United Nations. As they say, class is class, form is temporary. Janeil graduated in 2017, earning a first-class honors degree in law from the University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus, and then received her legal education certificate from the Hugh Woodin Law School in 2019. She now holds a master's degree in public law and operates her own legal practice. As Minister, implore you just now, direct some business there. And she wished to use her gifts to fulfill her passion of helping marginalized persons. This passion has led her to be the accessibility advisor to the Future Barbados, an initiative out of the Prime Minister's office. And she now sits on the National Advisory Committee for Improving the Lives of Persons with Disabilities. That is the committee that Minister would have referenced. Enough said. The best person to tell your story is you yourself. I have, with all the fervor that I can muster within the geographical confines of my bosom, I wish to invite you, Sister Janeil, to tell us your story. Janeil.
Protocols. already having been established. Good evening, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I first want to give a special good evening to Special Envoy, Ms. Rosalind Hurley. As she said, I knew her for a number of years now. She said for time was 7 or 8, but honestly, I could not remember. I just remember knowing her for years. And every time she would see me, she would say, "You looking good, girl." And then quickly after, as you heard, she would say, "I'm so proud of you." So tonight, Ms. Hurley, I am pleased to do this lecture in your honor. Thank you. Carrie Ann Eiffel, or should I say Auntie Carrie? Thank you for your strong sentiments, your faith in me over the years. As she said, I have no problem. I call her all the time whenever there are barriers ahead of me, whenever I have problems with technology, I ask her, "What do you think I should do?" And she'll go like, "You got this, girl. You got this covered." Just as she said to me just now, I got this. To my family, my friends, members of the church, all of my supporters gathered here tonight, good evening, and thank you so much for coming out this evening. It is a pleasure for me to give this talk to you guys today. Thank you so much. As I begin, I like to just tell you guys, one of my favorite stories. It's actually a tale from Argentina entitled The Magic Ball. And in this story, it begins with a little girl and a little boy, brother and sister. They were playing in the woods one day when the little girl saw a pretty shiny ball. And as children are, she was curious. She wanted it, she wanted to see it, she wanted to play with it, so she ran to get it. But every time she would get close to it, it rolled away. She ran behind it again, it rolled away. She ran behind it, it rolled away. And finally, it stopped by a large rock. She was finally able to take it up. She held it in her hands. She gazed at it, amazed at its beauty, how sparkly it was. But as soon as she did that, she was frozen in place. She became extremely cold, and she could not move. Her brother, realizing that she was in distress, tried to help her, but he couldn't. She was enclosed by this huge invisible barrier, and no matter how high he climbed or how much he tried to walk around her, he couldn't get to her. So after trying and trying, they went to sleep, they wake up, they tried and tried. Nothing. There was no success. Eventually, this big bird came among them, and the bird said something like, "Things of the dark and things without name cannot withstand a burning flame." They discussed it. They were confused. What that could possibly mean? But then they realized it probably meant that fire would break the spell. So the brother ran off deeper into the woods trying to find some fire. And he crossed the river, ran alongside a lake, all the way to find a cottage. He went inside a cottage. He saw a fireplace. He was able to get a stick, get some fire from the fireplace, and made his way back to his sister. He knew that if he didn't get there in time, she would not make it. So he ran, trying to retrace his steps. But as he crossed the river, the flame was extinguished by the water as it splashed up. So dismayed, frustrated, probably even tired, he had to turn around, go back to the cottage to get some more fire. He got the fire, and this time, he was determined to be more careful. He was going to walk around the river this time, and he tried to do that. But as he did so, he tripped, he fell. The fire fell into the snow and once again was extinguished. He knew that if he didn't make it back to his sister soon, she would not make it. Of course, he was scared. He was worried. He was terrified. He was tired, but he had to help his sister. So he went back to the cottage for the third time. He got a little stick, got some more fire, and went back to his sister. This time, he was holding it as tightly as he possibly could, and he was watching his steps. Then a big flamingo came, flew next to him, and together they ran. He put his hand over the back of the flamingo. They ran together. The flamingo protected the flame with her wing, and they ran until they reached his sister. As soon as he touched the barrier around his sister, the fire, the spell was broken and the sister was free. I hope that from that story you got two things out of it. One, we all need support. If the sister didn't have her brother, and if the brother didn't have those birds, they wouldn't be able to reach their goal of saving the little girl. And two, no matter how many times we fail, no matter how many times we fall down, no matter what barriers may come in our way, we cannot give up if we want to reach our goal. If the brother had given up, any of those times that the fire was extinguished, he would not have been able to save his sister. And while my story does not include any magic balls or any talking birds or anything magical, this tells the same principles that my story tells. My personal story began a couple of days before my 6th birthday. I was a normal child, 90s child, running around the place all happy, riding bicycles, playing with my family and friends, enjoying life. When one of my friends at the time invited me to get a ride in the bar, the bicycle. As everybody else is doing it, I saw nothing wrong with it. I got a ride in the bicycle bar, and I soon fell off and hit my head. It wasn't long before I was filled with excruciating pain all over my body. I was first treated with meningitis, then dengue. But as I had no fever, several tests were conducted, and it was after an MRI was done that it was shown that I had a blood clot in the brain. I was taken overseas to New Jersey, where I received some treatment, but due to the time that I was there and the fact that the blood clot had damaged the optic nerve, we were told that I would have to live with blindness for the rest of my life. At the time, I don't remember this having a very strong or negative impact on me. I was still a happy child running around the place, having fun. But what I do remember, I remember how I felt when family members and friends drifted away. I remember how it felt when all I wanted to do was continue playing with my cousins and continue talking to my friends, and I couldn't do that because they wouldn't talk to me, because they somehow felt that I was a different person or they didn't know how to interact with me. I soon began to study at the Irving Wilson School, which is a school for the blind and deaf. And at that school, I was taught Braille and basically how to live as a blind child. However, I didn't feel included either. Imagine as a parent, your child coming home every day, the child is not happy, don't have any friends, if don't feel as if they're being included in all the activities. You are not like that. That actually led my parents to become foster parents, so I would have some company at home. So let's just mention here now, if you have the room in your heart and the room in your house, please open up your place to one of these children who may need your help. You may not begin to imagine, you cannot begin to imagine the impact they can have on your lives as you impact their lives. To this day, one of those children, she's still one of my strongest supporters and one of my closest friends. So along with the foster children in our house, obviously we had my big brother, who was always there for me. He would take me for ice cream, he took me to the circus, he took me to Coney Island, all these things. But he was a lot older than I was. Well, he still is a lot older than I am, so I still wanted, obviously, more company. So it was then that my mother decided that she thought that, I was in a quote-unquote normal school before I lost my sight. Why is it I can't be in one of those schools again? So she tried contacting the Ministry of Education. She called everybody that she could find, trying to let them to listen to her, but no success. At that time, children who were blind were supposed to be at the school for the blind and deaf. But thanks to the support that I had at that time, my parents, of course, my teacher at the time, Miss Ahmed Ali, the principal, Mr. Wilmot Strong, they were able to speak with the principal of the school next door, Wilkie Cumberbatch, Mr. Ward, to make sure that I can have a couple of days where I can sit down in a class and just learn. And it was that led me to do the common entrance, albeit 2 years after the average time that the students would do it. I gained entry into the Common Mere School, my school of choice at that time. My brother went there, my mentor, well, Auntie Carrie went there, and I just wanted to be at Commerce School. From all I heard, it was supposed to be the best school in the world. I thought I was over the moon. I thought I had made it when I started school there, but little did I know, I had only turned a bend on my journey. Just turned the corner. I ain't reached my destination yet. When I started school at Commerce, I had a lot of support too, thanks to the Barbados Children's Trust, who donated a lot of equipment, including a PatMate, which is basically it helps me to do input into it like a braille machine, but it has the features of a computer as well, so I could do my work on some other equipment. However, getting my books in accessible format was a no-no. Imagine I already had to struggle with my work, and still I had to be up 1 o'clock, sometimes 2 o'clock in the morning with my father or some of my school classmates reading to me so I could braille out the work for the next day because I did not have the books in accessible format. Thankfully, I had some teachers who would go the extra mile too. Some wonderful math teachers who would even come over at my house sometimes to make sure I was following, especially when it relates to diagrams, and make sure I knew what was going on in class. Some excellent biology teachers who would make sure that the diagrams were tactile so I could follow. But unfortunately, not all teachers would grace me with that. Several times I'll be sitting in class and all I'll be hearing is, yeah, so do this and do that and do this. Like, ma'am, sir, can you please read what you're doing on a board? No, I don't teach you like that. So many times I was forced, obviously, to ask my classmates, can you read to me what's going on? And you know how many times we got in trouble for talking too much? Even though I had no choice. I had no choice. But still, I pressed on. Up every night, stressing most of the time. But I knew that I had goals and I had to reach those goals. So when the end of the first term came and I heard I come first in class, I was over the moon. My family, everybody was over the moon, but that was very short-lived. Because then the persons who I thought my friends started to drift away. Like, how dare me, a blind person, beat them in class? Like, who does that? They thought I was getting special treatment. Oh, the teacher had to be giving her those answers because there's no way she could learn that. All the complaints I was getting, there was no way I could have been doing that well. And I will never forget how I felt that day when I came to school on Monday morning to find out that the entire class was invited to a birthday party and I was not. I encourage you parents today to just teach your children about acceptance. Accept persons with differences, to include persons around them because you never know the challenges that they may have. It truly takes a village. And in that village, I would say too, is a church as well. I used to go to a church, I remember, that no matter how many times I would ask to be included, I would get no response. So many times I would ask to do stuff, I would get no response. So much so till I reached the point that I lost faith in the church. I lost faith in persons who would call themselves Christians because I was like, these persons call themselves Christians, but yet can't accept people around them. That was until I started attending the Ellerton Wesleyan Church. Yes. Thank you. My church members are here tonight too. So thank you for the support. They taught me that I was included. I was a part of the family. They showed me what a church family was supposed to be and helped me to get through my struggles too in school, prayed with me and worked with me. And that is what support is supposed to be like. That is what inclusion is. I also felt included at the Barbados Community College, which I attended after I left Combermere. I could tell you, I felt as if I was actually an adult as there were other children, well, other students were. My lecturers at the time Anytime I needed any help or there were any challenges, I felt comfortable going to Mr. Burke, Miss Bushell Ashley, Mr. Edwards, all of them. They would listen to me. They would help me. It doesn't help when persons would turn their backs on you. But they didn't do that. Anytime I needed to speak to them, anytime I could not follow in class, they would listen. And not to mention, a lot of the books then were in accessible format, so it was a lot easier. So it was no surprise to me when I graduated in 2014 as valedictorian in the Barbados Community College. After gaining the Barbados exhibition, I entered law faculty at the University of West Indies. At that time, I was a bit skeptical, like, what can I experience here now? I had some terrible experiences in the past, had some good ones. I hope this is not a terrible one. But luckily for me, as I entered law faculty, it was at a time that they had a paperless policy. So all the documents, handouts, worksheets, and everything were online. So using my software, my text-to-speech programs and stuff like that, I was able to access all of the work. And to me, that speaks to inclusion. Because I didn't have to be worrying about what was written on the board. I didn't have to worry about the documents they bring to me today. I had everything at my fingertips. I also had a very strong support team in my friends, Carla, Chanel, Dominique, Kashawn, who were always there for me, who helped me through my university life. So we worked together at all times at school, and when I graduated with the first class honors, I knew that, well, thank you. I knew at that time I was on the road to becoming a lawyer. I expected that it would be smooth sailing from here. I thought so, at least. I thought so. Barbados Community College, it went well. UWI went reasonably well. So applying to law school shouldn't be that difficult, right? Wrong. All of my friends were receiving acceptance, and I did not. I sat there confused. So how is it that I got first class honors? I had to know. I ain't hear back anything yet. I sent emails, nothing, until I received a call one day. We're not sure we can accept you because we can't cater to you at this time. Excuse me? After everything I have been through, after everything I had to deal with, all the barriers I had to climb, all the challenges I had to overcome, for you to tell me that you can't accept me because you can't cater to me, I was living. But I don't ever take no for an answer. Anybody who knows me knows this. So, I called up a lot of my lecturers at university, my doctor at university. They contacted the school. I let them know that I come this far and I can handle it too. So they accepted me, but that's pretty much all they did. Sorry. I begged several times for different things to be included for accessibility. Simple things like having comments on assignments in accessible format. They couldn't do. So I had to be always depending on my friends to read things to me, to help me with this, to help me with the next, because no matter how much I would beg and plead, he wouldn't, yes. It was difficult, several difficulties. Already I was stressed out. Already I was down. Already I was going through a lot, being away from home, being away from my support system, my family. I'm in a strange country in Trinidad. Basically living on my own, studying at law school, and then I had to deal with the added pressures of living in an inaccessible environment. I can only begin to tell you how many times I wanted to give up, how many times I wanted to quit, how many times I would just stand there in the shower, crying, hoping that no one can hear me. How many times I called my parents and said, Daddy, send a plane ticket for me, I'm coming home, I'm done with this. But my father reminded me that I'm not a quitter. He would tell me that all the time. Sometimes he used to annoy me. Like, how you could tell me I'm not a quitter? You know what I'm going through? But thank you, Daddy. One thing I can say for sure now, having gone through UNA Law School and completing it successfully. I know now that I can't deal with anything. After completing UNA Law School, I was like, this time now for sure over the moon, because now I'm an attorney in waiting. I went through the fire. I get burned a little bit by healing. And I was ready to take on the world. So I started my master's in public law at University of the West Indies. And it was entirely online, so it was almost a breeze, almost. But the next challenge came when I decided that as a woman, as an adult, as a human being, I was ready to start a family. But the people around me, what's she really doing though? All she can do is be a disgrace to she family. Or who do that to she? Or how retarded woman can raise a child? Or even worse, can you imagine a long, hard, difficult delivery? Your baby has been raced away to NICU. You're worried, you're scared, you're in pain, you don't know what's coming next. But a doctor had the audacity to come to you and ask you, so who can take care of this child when he goes home? I felt at that time, I couldn't even comprehend how I felt. She didn't see me as a woman. She did not see me as having rights, as a human being, as an adult. She only saw me for my disability. And I realized at that time that in spite of everything I've been through and everything I've accomplished, there'll be persons out there who will see me for nothing more than just a blind girl. Because that's all I seem to be to them. It was at that moment that I decided, I made up my mind that no matter where my career takes me, I would dedicate my life to promoting the rights of persons with disabilities. Because no one is to feel as low as I felt. No one is to feel the depression that I felt so many times going through my life. No one is to feel as excluded as I felt so many times. It is my desire to see Barbados become an inclusive place to all persons. So I decided that obviously I had to start with a career, but that didn't go as I would plan. Several applications to workplaces later, over 200. Several interviews and no callbacks. Back into a state of depression again. After everything I've accomplished, after as far as I've come, and I can't even get a job. So I was forced then to obviously start my own practice. Everybody telling me, you know, you've come this far, and honestly, when you're down, that's just words. When you're in that place, you're looking for solutions, it's just words. But I've learned to trust in God even when I am down. And I'm not here to preach today, but even then, when I did not know where to turn, he always had an answer for me. I was chosen to be the accessibility advisor for Future Barbados. That was only a 5 months contract, but for that 5 months, the initiative out of the Prime Minister's office, where a group of young people came up with different ideas to make Barbados a better place to grow, to live, to work, to raise children, to live. And I was able to sit with them and speak with them and help to inform them how to make their plans, their ideas more accessible to persons with disabilities. And for me, that just shows us that that's just one step closer towards inclusion. But after that was completed, there I was again. So what next now? But then I received another call that I was appointed to the National Advisory Committee to improve the lives of persons with disabilities. And for me, that just felt as if it was going exactly with the plans that I wanted, my goals, to continue advocating for the rights of persons with disabilities. And the mandate was to propose legislation and policies to improve the lives of persons with disabilities. And as we met with, as you had heard Minister Humphrey say, over 60, almost 60 different entities, meeting with persons to get their ideas, to tell them about the rights that we have under the United Nations Conventions and the rights of persons with disabilities, I knew that we are now just one step closer towards my goal, my dream of having an inclusive Barbados. Now, the tenure of that committee is coming to an end, and honestly, I don't know what's going to be next for me, but I'll continue to trust that God has something worked on, something planned. My story now is basically coming to an end, but I hope that I was able to teach you a few things. One, disability does not discriminate. You heard my story. I was a happy-go-lucky 90s kid running around the place giving trouble one day. Next day, I was totally blind. What happened to me might not happen to you, but it could happen to anyone around you. And you would not want anyone to discriminate against you. You would not want anyone to discriminate against your loved ones or exclude them from any activities. So, put yourself in our shoes. It doesn't hurt you to include us. It doesn't hurt you to just support us, encourage us, and give us the opportunity to grow. I also hope that today you learned from me that you must never give up. You must never take a no for an answer. No matter how many times you fall down, no matter how many challenges may come in your way, no matter how many barriers you may face, keep your goal in mind and continue working towards it. At times, because of your disability or differences or whatever it may be, someone might try to just enclose you in a box and keep you in there and say, this is what you're supposed to do. But as one of my favorite quotes from Celestine Chua once said, when someone says you can't, they show you their limits, not yours. They're telling you that if they were in your position, they couldn't get your goals accomplished. That doesn't tell you that you can't. Continue to punch above the surface. Break that glass ceiling. When you break it, yes, it may shatter. You might get cut, but hello, guess what? The ceiling is no longer there. The limit is the sky. Don't be afraid of a little pain, you know. You may get bruised. You may get hurt. You may be afraid of failure. But failure is just a way to show you that that way didn't work. Just try another way. You don't give up. And as I close, I will leave you with another one of my favorite quotes for Thomas S. Monson. And it says, good timber does not grow with ease. The stronger the wind, the stronger the trees. I think. Okay, so I was told there's supposed to be a question and answer segment now. So I'm all ears and ready to answer your questions. Hopefully I can.
Janeil, Fiona.
Hi, yes.
Hello. And
one of my lecturers here, people.
Yes, it was an excellent experience.
Thank you.
So not about lecturing though. In terms of the educational support for the systems at the primary and secondary level, not the university level, what would you recommend, or how would you recommend that these be, what should we do to allow other persons who might be in the same position to learn, get information without having the notes read over to them? In other words, what systems need to be put in place in order to do so? I'm not talking about the teacher learning how to include and all of that. That's a matter of teaching. I'm talking about the technologies.
A simple response would be, you have to meet the students' needs first of all, but to having an accessible, probably a digital format where the person can probably change it to suit them, the font, maybe the format, the stuff that they could adjust to suit their particular needs, that'd be better.
To you, ma'am. I don't have no question, I don't have no answers, but I just want to tell you, you are powerful.
Thank you.
You are powerful. You touch my heart tremendously.
Thank you.
And I just want to encourage you and say, keep pressing on. Up and on, no lie about that. But I want to wish you all the best in your endeavors. And you have a story for all of Barbados and beyond the shores to tell. Because I do feel that people with disabilities, even if it isn't disabilities, any other ailments, whatever the case, they too have something to say, to let us know that we can show comfort, be a human to other people. So I just want to tell you, keep pressing on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Janeil. My name is Ian Bourne. I'm the communications consultant within People Empowerment. I have two quick questions. Number one, do you plan to write a book of what you gave us, shared with us tonight? And two, I wanted to know, taking the cue from my minister, what is the area of expertise in your law practice?
Of your first question, I've been told that several times. I've never thought about it seriously, but maybe I would one day. Who knows? The second question, I do a bit of everything as a general practice. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. And Janeil, if you don't know this voice, we need to have a conversation. No, don't worry. I don't have a question. I wanted to respond briefly to say Barbados recently ratified the Treaty of Marrakesh, something that we've been pushing for a number of years. And that has afforded us the opportunity now to remove copyright issues, which broadens the scope of accessible material. So part of the answer to Rotarian Fiona Hines' question is that the information is there. There are accessible options. There are digital options. We just need to now embrace them and move forward. Only yesterday, Janeil and myself participated in a meeting with the World Intellectual Property Organization, and there was a representative of the Barbados Corporate Affairs Intellectual Property Office, and we were discussing partnering, or rather membership of the Accessible Book Consortium, where we will be able to have access to almost 1 million books, Janeil, I think it was?
It is 800,000.
So that's the digital content. Yeah. And the last thing I want to say is, only today I was at the Irving Wilson School, and a young Barbadian author, she presented the school with 2 copies of her books. One of them was a print copy, and she told them, hold on to that, the Audible version is coming. And she handed them, this is the part that really touched me, a Braille copy of one of her books.
Very good.
Good night, Janeil. My name is Rianne, and funny enough, I was actually your prefect in first form at Common Mirror, but I work in the Ministry of People Empowerment. And being in the ministry where the National Disabilities Unit comes under, I just wanted to know from you if there was one thing that you wanted to see change, like the utmost thing that you wanted to see change in Barbados for persons with disabilities. What would that be? Okay, that would say 10.
I was about to say, are you telling me one thing? Whew. In Barbados, the first thing I would say is we must have, firstly, the inclusive and equitable education, because that leads to so many other areas. the employment. I believe that when we do that, we open healthcare to be more accessible because the doctors and everybody else will be educated on our needs and our rights. So we have experiences with dealing with persons with disabilities if they are exposed to inclusive and equitable education. So I believe it starts there, nursery level.
Good evening to Honorable Minister of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, and other members of Cabinet, members of Parliament, Special Envoy, Ms. Hurley, and respected brothers and sisters. I am Kes Amaselassie Jacob. I represent the Barbados Christian Council on the National Committee to monitor the rights of persons with disabilities. Good evening, Ms. Odle.
Good evening.
I have to say Ms. Odle because I don't know you like other people that can call you by their first name. There are many things that arise as we in the National Committee to monitor the rights. We deal with the whole convention, and so I can't deal with everything, but I want to speak about the swinging of the pendulum. We can swing the pendulum to the other end and then cause other problems. To illustrate the point, I recently went to a place where I had not been through that entrance of the place or exit because it's at the back. And I observed that while in some places you have stairs or steps to access, and then you have a ramp, this place had ramps only, which tells me that we might be in danger if we don't watch how we progress, of swinging the pendulum so far the other way that you set up a place as though it is only a country for persons with disabilities, rather than a country in which you are including persons with disabilities, if you get my point. I know that you are versed in law, so I'm asking you to bring a legal perspective to how we might go and not bring rights by going too far, swinging the pendulum. Thank you. Oh, before I sit, this might be a criticism of the organizers, but I know that we have the electric buses and they're very quiet, and so persons with hearing disability don't hear the bus come in, and of course the persons with sight disability not seeing the bus either. And there's talk of you make the bus make a sound. Now, when we go to lectures, usually we raise our hand, and the person who is delivering the lecture sees and might acknowledge. I think we should have a way that we can raise something that you hear when it is someone wants to speak to you. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for your input, your contribution. As it relates to the first thing, when you spoke about there being too many ramps or whatever, were the ramps too steep? Were there an issue?
My point is only ramps, no steps for people that are not.
Exactly.
Only ramps.
But the thing is, with ramps, they're not only serving persons with disabilities, they're also serving mothers with prams and strollers. They're serving elderly people that has walking aids, and they're inclusive to almost every person. So I don't see how there is an issue with there being ramps. No, the issue will come in if the ramps were too steep or too difficult for persons to access. I would think, no, that would be an issue to address.
Neil, Edmund, I think it would be remiss of me not to comment here tonight. I'm not going to ask the question. I'm just going to say it has been a tremendous pleasure working with you the last 10 months and the other members of the National Advisory Committee, most of whom are here tonight, and really, side of me and Larry is here, Larry Smith, and of course, John, the director, Kerry Ann. I've sat on dozens and dozens of committees, commissions, corporations, whatever you want to call it, in my lifetime. And, this has been perhaps the most satisfying that I've been. And you have been part of that. And, the sky is your limit. Your story has been very emotional, touching. Anyone with any piece of humanity tonight hearing what you've said would be moved by it. And,
thank you.
It's an honor to be here. As I think, and we have, 6 members of parliament I'm counting here, including 3 ministers of government. The most we can do in tribute to you, quite honestly, is for the cabinet to approve in the near future, and Kurt, of course, has said that will be done. He's responsible for taking it to cabinet, the national policy that we have, the draft legislation. And as I've said before, I look forward to debating it in Parliament so that people like yourself could have legislative rights. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure we all agree that we were treated to a very personal yet enlightening conversation. I made the mistake and looked back at her father during the conversation, who was crying, and he made me cry. So I should not look back at you, my friend, because I was laughing with Janeil when she made me laugh, and she took us all through an emotional journey. We felt your story, and we felt your burdens too. And on behalf of a country that needs to do better, I apologize, and I hope that we can do better as a people and as a country. I present these flowers to you as a token of our appreciation. I must also tell you that Carrie told me that I cannot kiss you because your boyfriend is a police officer or something. So here, on behalf of the ministry, on behalf of the NDU, and I'm sure on behalf of all the people who are here, these flowers are for you.
Thank you, Sister J. And I guess by now you will understand why Janeil was the person selected to deliver this inaugural lecture series, This Is My Story. If the story is not told, then no one would know of the challenges faced by persons with disabilities. Despite her stature, though small, she's a giant among all of us in that whatever challenges life threw at her, she was determined to overcome. Thank you, Sister Janeil. And I must say, it would be remiss of me and subject to chastisement from another sister if I did not say that her wings were plumed for higher flight. Janeil Sharice Akelia Odle, up and on forever. Now, I wish to bring this evening's proceedings to a close, and I wish to express, on behalf of the Director and staff of the National Disabilities Unit, the Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, and the patron of whom this series was patronized, Ms. Hurley, thank all of you all for here. We wish to thank Ms. Rosalind Sithill, who is the Executive Officer at the National Disabilities Unit, for invoking the blessings of the Supreme Creator on this evening's proceedings. Thank you, Ms. Sithill. We also wish to thank the Director of the National Disabilities, John Hollingsworth, for his warm welcome of all of you. Thank you, Madam Special Envoy, for your opening remarks. And we continue to look forward to your stewardship. We wish to thank Sister Carrie-Ann Eiffel for your warm remarks, both personal and as President of the Barbados Council for the Disabled. We wish to thank you, Honorable Minister, for speaking from the heart. And you would have implored us that if there's a space in your heart, there's a space in your home for persons with disabilities. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Sister J, we wish to express our profoundest thanks and appreciation for your delivering to us tonight your story. From the queries and the comments that were made, it appears as though your story is one that will be told, and we certainly hope that it will resonate with all those who are in receipt of hearing your story. Thank you for your stewardship thus far, and as your wings are plumed for higher flight, we continue to expect you to soar, and when you soar, we soar with you. Thank you, Janeil. We wish to thank the Media Resource Department of the Ministry of Education, Technological and Vocational Training for your electronic support, the videography and all of that. The members of the media who are here present, our sign language interpreters, Mrs. Bonnie Leonce, this beautiful young lady here, and my African queen sister, Armelia Aline. At the University School, there are a lot of Alines, and I don't want to misrepresent one from the other. But she knows what I mean when I refer African queen sister. As well as all of you distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We also wish to express our thanks and appreciation to the management and staff of the Courtney Blackman Grand Salle of the Central Bank of Barbados for hosting us. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming in to hear and to share our world with us. Until we meet again next year around the same time, certainly not in this same space because it's too small, for another one of our brothers or sisters to share their story. Thank you, thank you, thank you all, and I wish to invite you to some refreshments. There's a lovely courtyard amongst nature that you can enjoy the refreshments that have been prepared for you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Get home safely, and we're looking forward to seeing you in the very near future, and that in each of your spaces or places that you will seek to do something, your little bit, to empower or to improve the lives of persons with disabilities. It don't have to be something significant. The smallest step can take us to our journey. Thank you, and good night.